You must be thinking why I directly came to womb and childhood. Okay. Now, if I need to tell you how the steps were, let me first go to that last slide of steps, because anyway, I'll be coming to that slide again. Okay. So any past life regression assignment also starts with the usual how we have learned for hypnotherapy. The client's full official name, case number, date. Okay. And now, since you have already had one sample client, you can also, with that same sample client, do a past life regression. That is, of course, your choice, whether you want to repeat with the same client or a new one. So if you're repeating with the same client, in your report, you can write, if applicable, what prior hypnosis experience did you have with the client? Meaning, what did the client say, show in trance, say probably after the trance, post-hypnotic interview. So that can be noted here. Rapport is built when you are already done one session, and even if you are not done one session, the pre-interview before a session begins with your client is building the rapport. Rapport meaning the relationship. Rapport is a word which is known to all of us, but probably not to Payal and Dharna. Rapport in therapy terms meaning the friendliness, the bond you have with your client. Okay. So that is established through talks, through interview, in that manner. Then it's hypnotic and induction methods used. We have learned about the hypnotherapy methods. We have learned about induction techniques, not learned, but I have given you scripts about various induction techniques. So which induction technique you used to hypnotize the client, that is also mentioned. So this assignment, which I'm going to give you today towards the end, this is a practical assignment of the past life regression therapy course. So it has to be noted in more details. So this is not because I like giving you a lot of work or I want you to struggle. This is because for your own sake, once you go through every step in a very detailed manner and you continue to do that for few clients, you will get the hang of it. Okay, then it becomes natural for you to do the hypnotherapy and to do the past life regression therapy. So the next one is, so after induction methods used, now here you can also enter the past life regression zone. Okay, sometimes what happens is, let me go back to that slide, the one I was showing. Yeah. In a past life regression also, there is a script. I have already sent that sample of scripts in that extra files. I don't know how many I have observed. That is the extra notes, which is already there in the Google Drive. Okay, everything is there. So extra notes, level 2, you will find the scripts. In those scripts, you will see that there is a very prominent line which therapists use, past life regression therapists use. For example, even if it's a physical problem, stomach ache, or even if it's a relationship problem, that why is it that my relationship is so complicated, either with my mother or mother-in-law, or either with my husband or with my child, etc., etc. So be it emotional, be it relationship, or be it physical issue. When you give this line as a therapist to the client in deep trance, go to the time where this issue in your life began. Okay, now you are trying to do a past life regression, but it can also happen, although you have read a script for past life, the client is not going into the past life, but is going into the childhood experience of the current life itself. Okay, so don't think that, okay, I wanted to do past life, client wanted to do past life, but here he is or she is in the current life. Now what? No problem. In the current life, make the client go through stages of age regression. Remember, in age regression, I had told you, regress in ages. Regress meaning, if the client is 25 years old, you can regress it to either age-wise, like 20, 15, 10, 5, and then directly mother's womb. Or you can regress it as most important events and incidences of childhood life between ages 20 and 25, between ages 15 and 20, between ages 10 and 15, between ages 5 and 10, between ages 1 and 5, and then directly to the womb. So you can give either a bracketed age or direct age. Okay, so the client will regress and go into the memories or experiences of that particular ages. Now, after you regress and take the client to directly the mother's womb now, okay, the mother's womb. Now, over there also, you explore a lot of things for the client. Like it is given over here, the things to be explored is how the fetus or the baby feels. Usually it's always better to call it as a baby because fetus looks a little bit more detached view. Okay. So how does the baby feel? How do you feel? Rather, instead of even the word baby, how do you feel now being in the mother's womb? So even if you feel that the client has not yet talked where the client is, you have to project an idea, or you have to ensure and say that you are in your mother's womb. And what happens is, not because of you said that the client is in the mother's womb, the client actually experiences the mother's womb. So that is why I say always, it's the healer's energy which has to be in alignment with the client. So if sitting here while giving all these suggestions to your client, you are yourself in doubt. Is she in the mother's womb, or she is not gone, or is she still at age 5? I don't know. And if you as a past life regression therapist, as a healer, is having all these doubts, you are sending those energies to your client. Understandable? So you have to always go with a vision, or go with what you call as an idea or a belief that this is where the client is. And sometimes what happens is, when if you are virtually and the camera is on the face of the side face of the client, you have asked the client to keep it on the face, or if you are doing it in person and you see and you're looking at the client, is the client going to talk, is the client going to say something, is the client showing some signs on the body, where is the client? Instead of having all those thoughts, as a therapist, I would recommend, during that wait time of 1 or 2 minutes, which you're going to give when the client reaches the womb, shut your eyes and meditate if you're going through all those thoughts. Okay? So meditate and keep letting the client know, even if right now nothing is clear around you in experience, what I want you to do is simply just be wherever you are. Slowly, things will come into clarity for you all. Okay, so that is how you can instruct the client, and slowly, somewhere the client, usually most of the client, starts experiencing the womb. Okay, and again, I have always told you, the experience need not be always visual. It can be bodily, it can be in thoughts, it can be in emotions as well, even if it's not vision. Okay, so sometimes it happens that when you are regressing a client from childhood ages, okay, and also in the womb, that experience in itself can be very distressing. Like if the client, while being in a mother's womb and the mother had fallen off the stairs, okay, so that baby feels that distress. And what if your trance has taken the baby exactly to the time when the baby's mother fell down the stairs? Okay, so the baby feels distressed. So you will also see those reactions sometimes in the client in front of you, which we call as ab reactions, very strong reactions. In such circumstances, what you have to do is the standard one: ask the client to float above and see whatever is happening to that baby or to that child from above, like a movie, and narrate the experience. Sometimes, even if the client floats above, they still feel emotions, they still feel everything, It is fine, but they will not be so much in distress as before. Another way to reduce the distress is the breathing. Ask the client that whenever you feel this distressed, if you're feeling distressed right now in this moment, just take a couple of 2 or 3 deep breaths, and with every breath out, you will see your distress reducing. So these suggestions are enough for the clients to be settled down after a while. But I'm telling you here, certain clients will still show very drastic bodily sensation. Like Dharna that day was saying that her client was having very high fluttering of eyes and something of a bodily sensation, I forgot she told. So when there is high fluttering of eyes and this, that means the client is in a very deep trance state. Even the client might have amnesia about all those things, but those sensations are indicating a stress factor somewhere, and the client is in a very, very deep trance. Okay. So in those circumstances, when you see such jerks, jolts, or body movements or facial expressions, the breath and the floating above reduces the distress in a client. Okay. So once you have done hypnotherapy, induction, and instead of past life regression, after reading the script, the client goes into age regression, you know how from womb and childhood, now you can actually go into the journey beyond the womb. Those steps will come, but first let me just cover this topic. Okay. Now, in a past life regression, the standard way in which I have learned and I have seen it applied by various regression therapists or even QHHT practitioners or LBL, okay? When a client enters into a past life, their significant events, the most important life events, is always to be explored. So if a client in a past life enters directly into a death scene, or a client enters directly into a scene where the client is getting married and is very happy, no problem. Let the client experience the death scene first properly, dissect it properly with questions, dissect the marriage scene properly with questions, and then ask the client, move ahead and go to a time in that life which you have entered to a very important event. And I specifically use this technique. I use 3, 2, 1 and snap. The snap is because, you know, it creates a jolt. Like when a person is in deep trance, there is a sort of jolt, just like when you have a jolt of going into a deep state and you feel as though you are just rotating or you are just moving through a tunnel, all those jolts. So my technique is snapping. You can innovate your own techniques. If you are musical, you can use a musical instrument for that. You can even ring a bell. You can even ring the bell of a puja room. Okay. So you can be innovative in that. Okay. Because I feel that the sound always creates a vibration and takes the client where it needs to be. So go to the next important event, 3, 2, 1 and snap. Now, if the client says, I see this, explore that event. Explore that event meaning explore how the client is feeling emotionally, what the client is doing, who are the people around them, what is the situation, how is the client's body feeling, are there other buildings or houses, which city is it, can you see the year, do you have a newspaper, if you are where is your home, go to your home, 3, 2, 1 and snap. The client is then in the home, so the client goes inside the home. Now sometimes in order to describe how a client is looking, okay, in that lifetime, because the client is not the same gender and form, need not be in a previous lifetime. So when we usually give suggestions, it's all there in the script, but I'm explaining here. When we usually ask the client to describe how the client is looking, it is usually done in the first point of entry into a past life. Like I usually begin with, look at the ground you're standing on. Okay. So the client usually comes to know it's cemented, it's grass, or it's stones, or it's mud. And then from the ground up, what are you wearing on your feet? Are your feet barefoot? Are you barefoot, or are you wearing something on your feet? Describe what you're wearing on your feet. Coming up, what are you wearing waist below? What are you wearing waist up? Sometime, and what is the color of your skin? Are you holding anything in your hands? Is there something in your hands? So by all this, the client also comes to know the client is a male or a female in that past life. Okay. Now, if the client is not able to describe all this, visually cannot see nothing, but the client just have a sense, probably I'm a girl. So the scene I'm coming down to again is the home. Now, if your snapping takes the client to a home, usually I do this activity where in the home, everyone has a mirror, okay? No matter which era. At least the era, if the client has not entered like, BC and 1700, where probably they were something different to mirrors. So ask the client, is there a mirror in the house? Tell the client to go and stand in front of the mirror. What do you see? So instead of asking the client to describe himself, what do you see? The client then describes. So the client is himself or herself in that mirror. So now you must be thinking, why is appearance so important? Usually it is not important, these details, but we do that as a past life regression therapist because it's so hard for clients to understand that this is not their imagination. This is what was their life. So when we take such details, what is the year? How are the people dressed? What are the usual traits and characteristics of the people? If in this lifetime you are with a dark-skinned girl as a client, and in that lifetime the client is a foreigner with a white skin, now this cannot be a part of imagination. Okay, so for the client's belief to get stronger and the experience to get more deeper, as a regression therapist, we take on all these things as an extra work. Look at yourself, see how you look, blah, blah, all those things. Otherwise, in a therapeutic or healing sense, appearances are not required. A lot of people ask me, why do you not take the year, which year it was? If it was this year, did the client ever see so-and-so king or queen, etc., etc. So my answer to such questions, which is a general question, is simple, that I'm here not to prove that they are in regression. I'm here to heal. So that is my answer. But if you are a curious person and you want to explore everything apart from healing the client, go ahead and explore, in my opinion. There is no harm in it. It's just that you will be giving more time to the client. Okay. Okay. So this is how significant events need to be explored. And one way of exploring the significant event is sometimes it happens that the client, even if they have talked during deep regression trance, they are not able to speak every experience during that time. Because many a times what happens is, when you are in a deep trance and when you're trying to talk, okay, something is to be expressed, it's very hard for clients to bring out the words from the throat. It's like a little bit like dry choking and something like that. And the client feels it like a task to talk. So the first 2-3 words, 4-5 words, the client will feel it difficult to talk. Okay. And express and share what the client is experiencing in those important events. And it's normal. Sometimes the clients also become conscious when they are talking, because they know that, yeah, they have to talk now, tell the therapist, but they want to be more into the trance experience. So sometimes clients choose to just be silent or talk less. So what you are getting sometimes as a narration in deep past life regression trance is 50% or 60%. Sometimes, as I said, many of the client will say everything, even without you asking any question. They'll just keep narrating, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So sometimes there are clients like that as well. So, and both kind of clients are good, no problem. As I said, healing is about not that this is right and this is wrong, the steps have to be like this and this has to be how it needs to be. No, there are no rules of healing. Okay. So another aspect which I was narrating in regard to this is, so after the past life regression therapy, hold a post-session interview with the client and then ask the client, what was your experience? What did you see? The client, you wouldn't believe, the client starts narrating more details, and the client actually himself or herself connects those experiences to the current life of the client. Example, if the client in a past life has drowned and died in that manner, sometimes in this present life, the client is born with a fear of water. So that explains. But it's not necessary that every client who has had death in water comes to this present life with a fear of water. It's not so. Sometimes the in-between journeys, life, births of the client has already released that fear. That is why I said sometimes, okay, some clients. So there are so many experiences the client starts connecting to. Example, the client is more closer to the aunt rather than the mother. Now the client knows in that past life, that aunt was the mother and was a very loving mother. So the client, even in this lifetime, feels more closer to the aunt than the mother. Okay. So the client comes to know more connections of that lifetime to this during the post session interview. And I have always told you to be careful. Do not interpret the experience for your clients. Questions are the only thing which you as a therapist need to focus upon. Now, sometimes clients find it hard to explain it all in words in deep trance. So that is why a post interview session, it revives more memory. I sometimes ask the clients that if you want to narrate what the client remembers or what happened, you can even close your eyes and talk. So I sometimes ask the client to close their eyes so that even I'm not there in front of the client and the client is still able to connect to that experience and talk. Okay. So both things work with open eyes post interview or with closed eyes. Any questions so far? Anything you wanted to ask so far? How is it? All clear?
It is clear, but I have another question. I don't know, it's like way out of this topic, but again, a question that if we, so we say that we create our own lives, we take responsibilities of our own life, we come to existence, and also we plan our death. So for example, the example that you gave that somebody died because of drowning. So this event was already planned by the soul. Why is that we carry on these impressions into next lifetime and start implementing it in the next lifetime? It's very vague. Why do we do that if we already know that it's supposed to?
One answer. It was the plan of the soul and the impression is of a human. So the human, whatever.
But the human died here.
So the human during death, whatever experience is being carried, that impression is imprinted in the soul as a memory. So why does the soul need to be born as a human? Because over here at a physical level, we are having strong emotions, sensations, experiences. Everything is like alive for us. For a soul, it's just energy. So soul has written all that life scripts, okay, written the death is in the water. But during that death, the soul cannot write what the human is going to experience, feel, and sense. What would be the last impressions of the human mind? That a soul can never write. Otherwise, why do the souls need to be taking on these journeys? It is only for this aspect, because human mind and the experiences connect and create a very different experience altogether for the soul. You know, how else is the soul evolving? The humans are creating things, energies, new energies, and going back to the soul. Yes, they